Hey, what's up guys? So the new Scream movie recently came out and I was pretty concerned about this one when I found out that it's releasing in January. Because in case you guys don't know, if a movie releases that early in the year, it's usually a sign that the studio has absolutely zero faith in the project. Not always, but January usually has some stinkers. I'm happy to admit that I was wrong and that it's actually a very solid addition to the franchise. In my opinion, better than both Scream 3 and 4. But like always, there were some decisions that the characters made where they could have perhaps acted smarter. Overall, you can tell that the characters in horror movies are getting more intelligent, but some of the deaths may have been avoidable. Now it should be fairly obvious that this video will have spoilers and I will give away the ending, but I won't cover the entire story in detail either. So in the beginning, Tara, one of our main characters, is in her house and the killer calls her asking about her favorite scary movie. After some conversation, he indicates that he's going to kill her friend Amber. After checking the door, we see that the killer is right outside. Tara then tries closing the door again to leave the killer out, which she does successfully do. By the way, the first time I watched this, I was a little confused because, like, no offense, but she's like barely over 5 feet tall, so how does she force the killer out? I'm just saying probably everyone can beat up a little girl. Not that you should, obviously I'm only throwing it out there. But anyways, she managed to keep him out. She backs up a little bit and waits in front of the entrance. Now at this point she has a bunch of different options. She can hide or try to run, and there are quite a few possibilities. There are about 4 or 5 rooms on the bottom floor, and she can go upstairs as well. But she decides to wait in front of the door where the killer is. Now from what I understand, there is no benefit to waiting there. This provides an opportunity to hide somewhere or lock yourself into the bathroom or bedroom and wait for the police to arrive, which is only about 3 minutes. Either one is better than standing 15 feet in front of the killer when he's just behind a door that it looks like he's able to unlock.
Doors unlocked.
Tara doesn't do either one of these things and makes her way into the kitchen, which is very exposed. She goes there because the phone is ringing, but it's obviously the killer calling, making it pretty easy for him to approach her. She then gets attacked and stabbed multiple times, but to her credit, she does manage to fight back enough so that she's able to survive with just a few stab wounds before the police arrive. The next morning, we meet our main group at a local high school. One of the characters, Chad, suggests that he and his girlfriend Liv download an app that tracks them and shows exactly where they are on each other's phone. First of all, his name is Chad. Couldn't have picked a better name myself. Now initially this isn't a terrible idea as it allows for the others to find you, however it doesn't take long for there to be a lot of finger pointing within the group as it becomes clear that one of them is the killer. Chad later on isn't even entirely sure if he can trust his girlfriend, so he should take his friend Wes's advice of making himself harder to find. Also, it seemed like the killer was able to hack Amber's phone, indicating that Chad might not only give his position away to Liv, but to the killer as well. Now Wes, the blonde kid, is the only one that tries to be prepared. He has pepper spray and a taser. They might not be as helpful as he thinks, but it's still a lot better than doing nothing at all, which is surprisingly what most of these guys choose. And considering that it becomes clear that the killer is after this friend group specifically, they should prepare a lot more. But of course, not even his tools are enough to save him. Wes's death was pretty unavoidable. The same goes for his mother. He does everything right and the attack couldn't really have been predicted. It happens in broad daylight in his own home, even though he makes sure to lock the doors and everything. The killer does this by attacking him where he's most vulnerable, in the shower with his pants off. And by the way, I hate to be the one giving parenting advice, but Tara, the main girl, was home alone during her attack. Her adult sister Sam and her boyfriend Richie don't even live in Woodsboro, and her mother has been on a business trip for a few days and she does not return. Who leaves their kid alone for this long? You can't do that. If you leave a high schooler alone for this long, they're only going to eat gummy worms and the house will be a total mess. Terrible idea. Where are the parents? The mother doesn't even show up after Tara has been attacked and is in the hospital. What? What, my daughter got stabbed? Well, I'm kind of in the middle of something here. I'm helping this guy pick out a new printer. Then I gotta get some orthopedic shoes, but after that, I'll be there in like 7 days. 7 business days. I mean, I'm only kidding. They say that she's in a business meeting in Europe, but still, man, what the hell? Following Tara's attack, the others actually don't behave like idiots, and I think that's great. They spend a lot of time together in a group, and none of the main guys go off alone into a dark corner for a long time. That's exactly what I think they should do. Seek safety in the hurt. Later on, after a few more attacks and getting the help of Dewey, The group gathers at Mindy's house, who's Chad's sister, by the way. She's a horror fan and explains what's going on. The killer is sort of recreating the events from the first Stab movie, which for us means the original Scream. This is also recognizable by the name. As we know, the first one had 2 killers, and I think most people can by now suspect that it's the case for this one as well. It was one of the most notable elements of the original, and therefore almost certainly plays a role here. This means that having an alibi for one of the attacks doesn't eliminate you from the list of potential suspects. Amber pretty early gets basically ruled out by most of the audience and the group because during one of the attacks she was being questioned by the police. Nobody suspects Richie, Sam's boyfriend, either, because he was in another city. But as we know, if the killer was really operating by the rules of a horror remake, both of them should still be on the list of potential suspects for our group. This is especially true for Richie, because even though he has believable alibis for some of the events, rarely anyone's ever there to back it up. Afterwards, we get to the one sequence where there are a few mistakes made, and that is when Tara is alone at the hospital after getting stabbed. Upon Wes's death, it seems like all of the police go to that one crime scene with virtually no one staying behind to take care of Tara like they did before. This seems like an obvious mistake, as it can easily be a diversion tactic from the killer. Now, the police couldn't have known that beforehand, but it does seem a little irresponsible to not have a few officers at the hospital when before there were multiple policemen present just to look after Tara. It looks like everyone is at this one crime scene. I mean, once we see the hospital, it seems like nobody's there. The entire place is empty, even though it's only the beginning of the evening. It's really the next death, though, that seems avoidable. Tara is alone at the hospital, and the killer is slowly coming after her in a taunting manner. Dewey and her sister Sam arrive just in time to save her. While making his way back to the 2 sisters, Dewey is attacked by the killer in the hallway, but he's able to land a couple of body shots with his pistol. They're about to escape, but then Dewey goes back to the killer alone in order to shoot him in the head so that he can't come back. Of course, it takes him slightly too long, and the killer stands back up, revealing that he wore a bulletproof vest and is able to stab him to death. This was probably my least favorite moment in the movie because Dewey is a character that we've been following for so long, so many years, and I think he should have perhaps gotten a more heroic death, I don't know. Then we get to a pretty hilarious moment that happens in the 3rd act. Chad and Liv are at a party where all of our main characters and other students gather. Liv is making out with Chad and eventually wants to take him upstairs into a more private area. But he says no and chooses the safer option of staying downstairs with everyone else and isn't tempted by his girlfriend's offer, partially because he fears that Liv might be the killer. I'm so proud of this guy. His training is complete. Liv then storms off because she's very offended. And I gotta say, even though Chad made the right decision, the way he expressed it wasn't the smartest, because he basically called his girlfriend a killer. He could have just said that he doesn't want to bang in a house full of people who might walk in on them. The point is, don't call your girlfriend a murderer and be more careful with your phrasing. Just tell her you want to stay in a bigger group in case the killer, whoever it may be, shows up. So then his girlfriend leaves the house and walks around alone outside, and after a few minutes, Chad runs after her. It's when he's completely alone on the front lawn without a clue where his girlfriend is that he gets attacked and killed. Partially because he had that app installed that showed his location and the killer had access to it. So maybe he still had a few things to learn. It's pretty strange too because Chad thinks she's hiding in these dark bushes. Look man, if my non-existent girlfriend hid in those bushes, I'm not going in there. I could get scratched, there might be ticks, and you're alone in the dark with a killer on the loose. They're also at this really high-profile party where it looks like 200 students have gathered. This probably makes it at least a point of interest for the killer. It's good that they're together, but such a large party might draw too much attention from the wrong people, from their perspective. Combine that with walking off alone in the dark outside, and it can really only end one way. Finally, after a few more minutes, Richie, Tara, and Sam arrive at the party as well. The 2 older ones shut it down and tell everyone who isn't part of this main group to go home. And I gotta be honest, I have mixed feelings about this party being shut down. The event itself definitely drew the attention of the killer, but it's also already happening, so it may be smarter to keep everyone in a group than to split up and be alone again. Towards the end, it's revealed that Richie and Amber were the killers. This twist I think is really cool, especially re-watching it. There are a few clues that can really give it away. And it's fun when you can see how it was right in front of your face the whole time, yet it was still unpredictable enough that it was a satisfying reveal. Our main characters also get very lucky towards the end, because even though they have a chance to kill her, they let Tara live and just tie her up and leave her in a closet. They do this because they want to kill everyone at once and get them all rounded up beforehand. This is a terrible idea from Richie and Amber, because even though they have a gun, it's too many people to keep track of. They're like 4 or 5 people. Up to now, it's always been only one-on-one fights. If they stuck with that idea, they could have probably won. Anyway, Tara is able to break free and attack Amber, which enables the others to fight back together against the killers, and they end up winning. So those were a few of the bad decisions in the new Scream. I think they did a great job of making the film really fast-paced and fun, and they're probably making more considering their financial success. And I hope they're able to pull it off in the future again. I really want to see them win. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it and that I get to see you in the next video. Bye guys.